Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage. Welcome back to part 3 of my old world tutorial, and in this video I'm going to be covering combat. Mostly the basics, a little bit of strategy, but there's a lot to go through, so I'm not going to cover all of it. If you go ahead and bring up the help screen by pressing F1, there are 3 lists of things here that I would advise you to read through. First of all is units. If you can see the list of all of the units there are in this game, there are a huge number of them. Some of them are specific to certain empires, some of them are specific to the tribes and the barbarians, or the rebels as they are in this game. So that's a big list to go through. There are also the promotions, which is a huge list. These are all of the various different promotions that can be given to units. Some of them can be given to any unit, some of them are unit specific, but there's a big list there. And then the third list to look through are traits, particularly the objectives. So these are all traits that can be added to a character, and that character can be a general. So it's traits that affect the general, and some traits here also affect leaders, because some leader traits will affect all of your armies. But again, this is a massive, huge list of stuff. So I'm not going to go through all of these because there's just far too many to cover in a single video. In order to make this video easier to film, because I'll be showing lots of different things, I'm going to be using the console. So bear in mind, this is cheating. I am a dirty filthy cheat, but this is the easy way to do it. Obviously, if it's something you want to do, you can. No judgment here. It's a very good way to mess around with things and work as a testbed to see what works and what doesn't. So I'll show you how to work that, at least the basics of it. One little correction to an omission from the last video. In the first video, I said that you can hide scouts in trees. And I forgot to mention, or at least I thought I forgot to mention, that if you have an enemy unit directly next to them, they are visible. And then someone corrected me, and I must have been thinking of another game, because in this game, if you have an enemy, if you have a scout hidden in the trees and an enemy unit directly next to them, they still cannot see them. If an enemy unit moves onto the tile where the scout is hiding, the scout will move out of that tile. So if they've got another tile with vegetation to move into, they will move into that tile and remain hidden, else they will become visible, or at least I think they will become visible. Let's test that. We can do this with the console. So I haven't even set up my first city yet. And what we're going to do here, I'm going to press the shift key and the tide key, and that's going to open the console. We've got a couple of different options here. If we look at these 4 tabs along the bottom of the console, the 2 right ones just close the editor like so, same as pressing shift and tide, and the alphabetical order one does exactly what it says on the tin. So the 2 options we're interested in are the editor and console. There are 3 things I'm going to do in the console straight away, which is going to make things really, really easy for doing this video. First thing I'm going to do is type in full reveal map and hit enter, and that will reveal the entire map for me. And now I can see where absolutely everybody is, and this basically means I can use the editor to spawn things anywhere I want away from everybody else, so that we can test various things out. Great. Now this is going to involve me spending lots of orders and also lots of training in order to demonstrate stuff. So let's go ahead and open the console again. So click the console tab, and this time I want to add yield, and I'm going to go in capitals, yield underscore orders, and let's say we had 100. Now you can see we have 108 orders, and I'm also going to go add yield, and then in capitals, yield underscore training, and let's say 3000. Bearing in mind there's a 2000 cap, but we still somehow managed to have 3200 training. So let's do a demonstration. I'm going to open the console up again. This time I'm going to go into the editor. Along the very top row, I'm going to pick units, because I want to see if we can see an enemy scout. So I'm going to make sure that I click the Rebels tab. And the reason I want to click Rebels is because they are going to be an enemy. The Rebels are always hostile. They're like the barbarians in Civilization. I'm going to go ahead and left click on the scout. Now, if I now move the mouse over the map somewhere and I left click, it will place the unit down on the map. If I right click on that unit, it will remove it. If I left click on a unit and then left click again, it'll place another unit adjacent to it. So let's remove both of these, and let me left click here on the forest. Okay, I have placed a unit in there. and that apparently is barley, not trees, so that kind of scuppered that plan. Okay, that's fine. We can go ahead and undo that. I did a misclick. Let's get out of there. I thought that was forest for some reason. So we can use any of these trees here. We've got a patch of trees right here. So let's go ahead and do that again. We'll open up this, make sure we're on rebels, make sure we're on scout, left click here in the trees, and it looks like nothing has happened, but there is a scout in these trees. If I go ahead then and click on roam and I get myself a unit, let's get for example a warrior, and I place the warrior here directly next to them, I cannot see the scout. So let me go ahead and move this warrior into this tile. The warrior moves into the tile, but we can't see the scout. So let's just wind that back a little bit and see if we can force the scout to do something he doesn't want to do. So I'm going to open up the window here. I'm going to make sure that I've got roam selected. I'm going to pick warrior. And then basically I'm going to put warriors in... where are we? No, I'm not on warrior. There we go. I'm going to basically block all of the tiles apart from this open one here, which isn't hidden. Just to test a theory. So I'm now going to go and grab one of these warriors, move into this tile. Wonder where he's gone. Maybe still hidden. Could have moved into this tile. They can move more than one tile at a time. But there was definitely a barbarian scout somewhere in these tiles. So as you can see, the ability for a scout to hide is really, really clever. Let's just go ahead and undo all of these last moves, because I've got all of these warriors around now that I really don't need. And yeah, that's probably... How far back am I going? Right to the beginning of time. There we go. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start by dropping down our city, and I will pick a random tech and we can start going through some of the basics of combat and unit movement. So let's go ahead and start just by grabbing myself a very simple unit. We will get a warrior, which is what most people are going to start with. Well, I keep unselecting it. There we go. Place a warrior right down here. So like any unit, you have a maximum movement limit, which is normally 4 movements before the unit becomes fatigued. Each movement costs an order. I can see exactly what how far back I went here, because I've gone and undone my orders and I've gone and undone my training. That wasn't good, was it? Let me just go and very quickly redo that in the console. I think I have to type it manually again. So add yield underscore orders. It's much easier when you can type. Will give us 100 orders, and add yield underscore training 3000. There we go. Now we've got some stuff to play with. So yeah, we can move up to 4 times. And when we get to the end of the movement, we can still attack. Now, we can also move beyond those 4 moves if we use force march. Now, remember that once you force march, any additional movement will cost an extra order each time. So if you look at the number of orders that we have, we've got 107. Moving within this first circle will take me down to 106. This will take me down to 105. This will take me down to 104. This will take me down to 103. If I move outside of this circle, it costs me 100 training. It only costs 100 training the first time you move a unit into force march per turn, not per tile. But then every additional movement will take 2 orders. So we go down from 101 to 99 to 97 to 95 to 93 to 91 and so on. So, for example, I could go and force march all the way over here to these barbarians. Now, the reason it didn't force march is because I wasn't holding down control. If I go and undo that move and I hold control and right click, now we'll force march over there. Now, I can continue to force march and go as far as I want as long as I have the orders to support it. Now, that doesn't put this unit on cooldown, and it can still attack. So remember, movement doesn't... well, it does exhaust a unit in terms of the unit's movement, but you can still attack even after moving. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. I'm going to go ahead and move this unit back where it was. So one of the things that I want to talk about are some of the things that will exhaust a unit and put it onto cooldown. And when a unit is on cooldown, you can't do anything with it on that particular turn. So one of the things that will do that is adding a general. So if we add a general to this unit here, we'll go ahead and we've got a couple of different options, but we'll just add our leader. We'll add King Romulus and we will confirm, choose. And now you see it has this little red icon that appears above the unit, and that basically means it's on cooldown. And we mouse over that and we can see it tells us exactly the reason it's on cooldown and how long that cooldown is going to last. Most cooldowns only last a year. So this is cooldown, general assigned, 1 year. This unit now cannot do anything. You can still assign a general to a unit, as with most of these actions, even if you've used all your movement. So we could go all the way over here, use up all of our movement, then we could go and add the general. So you really need to think about the order in which you want to do things. So try and move first and then take an action. I'm going to go ahead and add the general back to this unit because I want to show you some of the promotions. So as you can see, this unit has a number of promotions. Whenever you have a unit selected, you can see all the promotions it has right here on this list. Above that, you've got some buttons that you can press to get the unit to do specific things. So you can tell it to skip a turn. You can put it to sleep, which means it just won't react or do anything unless you move it or it gets attacked. You can put it on sentry mode, which basically means it'll sleep, but it will wake up if an enemy appears within 5 tiles. You can disband the unit, but you cannot disband a unit that is on cooldown, and you can gift the unit to another player. So below that, you've got your list of traits that unit has. So this unit has +1 fatigue limit because we're playing as Rome. So this unit can move up to 4 times before it gets fatigued. If we weren't playing as Rome, it would only be able to move up to 3. It's just a bonus of playing Rome. It affects all units. It also has melee. It's a melee unit, which means it counterattacks and does 1 HP damage. And it has, takes 1 HP damage when it attacks this particular unit. And it also is less effective if it's fighting across a river. It does 50% less combat damage. It's infantry, so it gets +25% extra defensive score from being in an urban tile, like these ones here. And then any that have these little golden stars on them are traits that are coming from the general. So King Romulus here is given as Tactician, so we get counterattacks during melee, and we also stun targets for 1 turn. If we were to go and give another trait to Romulus, for example, so let's do this in the console. We can open that. If I go into the console and we can go add trait, and I'm going to go in capitals, trait _ let's go bloodthirsty. And we want 0 because character ID 0 is always you, the player, the leader. So we're going to add bloodthirsty. So you can now see, if we mouse over King Romulus, that he has this bloodthirsty trait right here, and we do 10% attack and defense strength versus damaged units. And also all units get 5% attack and defense strength versus damage. That's because he's the leader as well as the general. So looking up here, you can now see we have this bloodthirsty trait plus 10% attack and defense strength versus damaged units. You can get a lot of stuff on here from a general. You can really get these units beefed up. Now, it's worth learning the difference between these icons. So sometimes you will see this icon, which is 2 crossed swords behind a shield, which represents attack and defense strength. So that means it's either the strength you have or a bonus to the strength you have, whether you're attacking or being attacked. If you see an icon that looks like a shield, that is the strength you have or a bonus to the strength you have when you're being attacked. And if you see an icon that looks like a sword, that is attack strength. So that is either the strength you have when attacking or a bonus or penalty to the strength you have when attacking. You can also do things like rename units by clicking on these little quill icons. So nice if you want to sort of customize your game. While I've got the console open here, another thing that we can do if we click on the editor is along the top, if we go to units and click on cooldown, we can right click on a unit to reduce the cooldown and get rid of it straight away. So even though this unit should be on cooldown, it is no longer. So that's one of the things that can put units on cooldown. Let's go ahead and close that window and move him over here. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly spawn a bunch more units. I'm going to place some warriors, and I'm going to get one. Am I? Always keep clicking off the warrior. There we go. We're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we need for this demonstration. And I'm going to go ahead and click on level up. I'm going to ignore the first unit. I'm going to click the second one to give it 1 promotion. I'm going to click this one twice to give it 2 promotions. If you right click, you'll do nothing. I'm going to give this one 3 promotions, give this one 4 promotions, and give this one 5 promotions. 5 promotions, or is that already 5? That is already 5. 5 is the max you can have on a unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so ignore the last one. Okay. The reason I want to show this is because putting units, giving units a promotion, if the promotion costs training, will put the unit on cooldown. So there are 2 ways a unit can get a promotion. A unit can get a promotion by gaining XP. Once a unit gets enough XP, that unit can then be promoted for free. You can always promote a unit, even if it doesn't have XP, by spending training. So this unit here has a promotion. There's no training listed on this promotion banner. This unit doesn't have a promotion because it doesn't have enough XP. And it tells me here this will cost me 100 training. So if I click on this unit with no current promotion, no promotion level pending, and hit promote, I get a random list of 4 promotions I can pick for this unit. And it is randomly generated. I think it's randomly generated when the unit spawns. It is picked from a list because some of these promotions are specific to a unit. And when you pick one of these promotions, another one is then picked from the list to replace it from the random list. Some of them, if they have a number next to them, like Combat 1, means that there's a Combat 2 and usually a Combat 3. So let's say I want to give this unit Tough, which means it gets 10% extra 10% extra attack and defensive strength if the unit becomes damaged. I click on that. The unit gains a level. We can now see it has Tough, but the unit now is on cooldown for 1 year. If I was able to promote this unit again, which I can't do on this turn because it's on cooldown, I would have a different promotions that I could pick from. We can actually see that by mousing over them on this banner. So we have Strike 1, we have Focus 1, we have Bloodthirsty, and we have Fierce. It's repopulated the list. If we go ahead and click on this unit that has a free promotion because it's gained enough experience, obviously it hasn't, I've just cheated and given it the experience, I can go ahead and promote this unit, and let's, for example, give it Fierce. It costs an order, it has the Fierce promotion, but it's not on cooldown. I could still then go ahead and use training to give it another promotion, and that puts it on cooldown. If I go over here to this unit that I've given the maximum promotions to, I can go ahead and give it 1 promotion, 2 promotions, 3 promotions, 4 promotions. Now that unit is fully promoted. So it's only when you promote using training will the unit go on to cooldown. Now, another useful thing to remember is that you can promote units anywhere on the map. Doesn't have to be in your own territory. So, promotions, whenever a unit gets a promotion, you should give the promotion to that unit right away. This is probably counterintuitive to people who are used to playing Civilization, because in Civilization, normally giving a unit a promotion ends that unit's ability to act on that turn. And then if you don't give a unit a promotion, you don't gain any extra XP. You can save up promotions on units in Old World, but promote them as soon as you can. That's always the best thing to do. Now, another thing that I should point out is about damaged units. So I'm going to go ahead and spawn. Let's place... I'm going to place a rebel unit. Now let's pick something that the rebels would likely use. Like a elite nomad marauder. And we'll go ahead. I don't want to put anybody on hills, so I'm going to use these tiles here. So we'll put the rebel there. And I'm going to go ahead and place 2 of my units. So let's just go and get 2 normal warriors. And I'm going to place 1 there and 1 there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on the damage tab. And then if you right click on a unit, you'll do damage to it. If you left click on a unit, you'll do damage. If you right click, you'll heal it. I'm going to go and take my unit down to like 1 hit point. Now this works for both the player and the enemies. I'm doing it this way because it's easier to demonstrate. So with my fully healed unit selected, we can see that if I was to attack this marauder, it says right here next to the marauder's health, but also if I mouse over it, you can see it over here on the left hand side, that we would do 6 hit points of damage to the elite marauder. We'd also take 1 hit point of damage back because warriors have this horrible melee counter-attack thing that means they take 1 hit point of damage whenever they attack something. But we would do 6 hit points of damage regardless. This unit, if I was to attack, would also do 6 hit points of damage. The reason I'm showing this is because I'm trying to demonstrate that a unit with low health does exactly the same amount of damage as a unit with full health. Again, this is different to Civilization, where the more damaged a unit becomes, the less damage it can deal out. So sometimes a damaged unit is not the biggest threat because a damaged unit can't hurt you as much. In Old World, a damaged unit can do just as much damage to you as a fully healed one. So it's always worth wiping out the ones that are on very, very low health, nice and early on. So let's go ahead and get rid of these things. So we'll undo these units. Just going to do it a slightly quicker way actually by I clicked on that button a lot of times. Let's just go to place, and we'll just right click because right click removes some units for us. So there's a few other things that I want to demonstrate here. So promotion, we've done promotions, but there's also upgrades. So let's say, for example, we have a warrior. Let's go ahead and place our warrior right here. We don't have the ability to upgrade it yet because we don't have the tech that we need. So let's click on techs up here on the top of the console, and we will go and give ourselves... we start with iron working. We want to get ourselves the axeman. Can't remember the tech I need now. So let's go into units. So I can just type in axeman. So axeman requires steel. Okay. So I'm going to open the console and I'm going to find steel. Now, they are sort of in the order that you get them. So we can hit alpha and put them in alphabetical order. And then we can skip through until we find steel. There it is. So now we have the steel tech once I've clicked on it properly. So now that I have the steel tech, if I go here, I have the ability to upgrade. Upgrading the unit might give you multiple options, because some units have 2 upgrade paths. So for example, we can upgrade this warrior to an axeman. If we had the... Are we still in alphabetical order? Yes, we are. If we had the... Let me find it now. Phalanx. If we had the phalanx tech, then upgrading would let us upgrade it to an Axeman or a Spearman. You can see an Axeman here would cost me 80, well, one order, 80 training and 100 iron. A Spearman would cost 1 order, 80 training, 50 iron and 50 wood. The difference between upgrading and promotion is with upgrading you have to be in friendly territory. You cannot do that anywhere on the map. Promotion can be done anywhere. Upgrades can only be done in friendly territory. And upgrading a unit will always put that unit on to cooldown. Let's go ahead and grab the Axeman, because the Axeman's actually a very interesting unit. Now, he is on cooldown, but I'm going to go ahead and cheat my way out of that by going into units, cooldown, and right-clicking there to remove that. I'm also then just going to go and place some rebel units. Again, let's just get some, they don't need to be particularly strong. We can just use some warriors for this. So I'm going to go ahead and place 4 warriors. Now, one of the great things about the Axeman, or the Axemen, is they have an ability called Cleave. So a Cleave will basically do damage to the unit that you attack, and then do 25% of that damage to the units either side of them. So if I were, for example, you can see at the moment it's saying that I would do 9 damage to any of these units that I attacked. But if I were to attack this unit, for example, I would do 9 hit points of damage to the unit that I'm attacking, but I would also do 3 hit points of damage to the units either side. I wouldn't do any damage to this one over here because he is not either side of the target unit. So Cleave's a really, really nice attack. Again, because we are an Axeman, we still have this annoying, where are we? We still have this annoying melee thing, which means that we will take some damage. Now, that's also a thing to consider, is another difference to Civilization. In Civilization, if a melee unit attacks another melee unit, that unit will counterattack, i.e. you hit them and they hit you back on the same turn. You both take damage. And if you've got 2 units that are the same strength, you'll take pretty much the same damage. Now, units by default in Old World don't have counterattack. There are some traits that give units counterattack, but most of the time they don't. So often it's better to be the aggressor, because sometimes you can kill a unit before that unit has the ability to attack you. Now, that's kind of balanced out by the fact that you need orders in in Old World to make any attacks. So if you've got enough orders that you can completely surround even a stronger unit and hit it enough times with enough other units, you'll do a lot of damage to it. So you could potentially even wipe it out before it gets a chance to hit you. But remember, if you're going to do that, you're going to want to completely kill it, because a unit with 1 hit point is just as dangerous as a unit that's on full health. So let's go ahead and hit this unit here. And you can see we do damage to all of the units around us. That is really, really nice. Also, when it comes to doing damage to multiple units, let's get rid of these. There is some splash damage on units like the Onager, for example. Let's go ahead and just spawn one right here. So the Onager is not a barbarian one. That's the last thing we want to do there. Let's make sure we're on Rome. Place that right there. Now, before I do anything else right here, siege units have this extra ability called Unlimber. So Unlimber basically means that the siege unit cannot attack because it's in transport mode, essentially. So what we're going to go do here is click Unlimber on this. I am just going to end the turn just to get rid of the thing. And we're being attacked by a barbarian unit that I didn't even know was up there. Oh, it's come from the barbarian camp. Cool. So we've got our unlimbered siege unit, and we can tell it's unlimbered because it has this little grey thing here. But the turn after they unlimber, they do have a minus 25% defense modifier, but that's not going to stop what we want to do here. One extra trait that you will see on ranged units, that's not what I was hoping to see. I'm clicking on the wrong bit of terrain here. Let's do on the tag. There we go. So you can see there's actually a range stat on siege units and ranged units, as you would expect. I'm going to go ahead, pop the console open one more time. We're going to go on to rebels. We're going to go on some really basic units. I mean, I guess we can just use militia for this. And I'm going to go ahead and just pop down 7 of them on the hex like this. So the onager actually does splash damage. So if we were to hit the middle tile here, we would do full damage to the middle tile, which is 12 hit points, and we would do 25% damage to all of the surrounding tiles. So you can see we've done damage to all of those units there. So some of the siege units, especially the ones that have splash damage, are really, really good. Other things to demonstrate and teach. And let's just get rid of some of these units here. Can only go back to the beginning of the turn. We're not going to go back any further than that. So we've got this this barbarian here that attacked us. So one of the things that we can do with a unit is we have this option here. Well, if you've got a general, I'm going to just backtrack here a little. So there's a few extra things that you can have if you have a general on the army. So for example, you can replace a general with a different one. That's just a direct option to swap them around. You can also release the general. I believe releasing a general doesn't put it on cooldown. Yeah, costs an order, but doesn't put the unit on cooldown. Replacing a general does put it on cooldown. Also, because this unit has now gained itself a little bit of XP because it was attacked, the promotion is now only costing 97 training instead of 100 training. So the more experience it has, the cheaper the training is. The option that I wanted to show you here is one called Fortify. So if you tell a unit to fortify, it gains 5% defensive bonus per year, up to a maximum of 25. Once it reaches that maximum level, that unit will counterattack during melee combat. I don't know if we have counterattack automatically with our... yeah, we do have counterattack automatically because we've got tactician. We've got a tactician leading the army. But what we're going to do is we're going to go and hit Fortify. Now, what putting the unit in Fortify will do, it'll put it into cooldown for 1 year. You'll see this little bar appear above the health bar with 5 segments. The first one is in blue, which means it's already at 5% towards being fortified. And if we go and mouse over our orders, you will see that it is now telling us that we have -1 for fortifying units. I see all my extra orders have gone because I went on to the next turn, but we can deal with that later. So yeah, let's go ahead now and just end the turn. That barbarian will probably attack us again. Now that barbarian is actually taking quite a lot of damage. The only reason that barbarian is taking that damage is because we have counterattack on the general. That general is giving us some counterattack. Let's go ahead and release the general this time around. So we're going to take the general out of there. Now, one problem that you do have with units that are on Fortify is every time they get hit by an enemy, it removes 1 progress on fortification. I'm going to end the turn again. And this time, we got hit, but you'll notice the barbarians didn't take any damage. Well, they took like 1 damage because they have that same negative trait that we have. They have the, what's it called? The melee. So they get the one hit point damage. But we didn't automatically counterattack because we didn't have the general on board that time. And quickly open the console again. I'm going to get rid of that barbarian unit and I'm going to leave this damaged unit here. Oh, no, stop that. I'm going to take this damage unit and I'm going to go ahead and bring it home. So the reason for that is you'll see there is a heal button up here, but we can't actually heal up. So it says right here on the button, idle units heal for 1 hit point each year, which is not great. But this button will heal the unit by +5 hit points, but it must be in friendly territory to do that. So we can come over here into friendly territory and then we can heal that unit. So that unit now is on cooldown because we've healed it. It gains 5 hit points. If we go ahead and end the turn, stuff's happening over there, which we're not bothered about. This unit is now healed 5 hit points. Now, it's not continuing to heal. We can heal another 5 hit points by this turn by clicking the button again. If we don't want to have to if we don't want to have to click this every turn, we can hold down Control and then we can click it, and now that will automatically heal every turn. So if I end the turn again, some stuff going on over here and over here, which we're not terribly bothered about. This is the downside to revealing the whole map. You see everybody's stuff going on. And now this unit is automatically healed at the start of the next turn. So that is a really, really good thing to know. Got to heal in your own territory. We've got a settler over here now. I'm just going to put him over here. Going to go and put him to sleep. I'm just going to get the city doing something so it leaves me alone. And then we can go ahead and show you the one last thing I think I need to show you about combat. And that is the Rout ability. So we'll find a little bit of space over here. Yeah, we'll demonstrate the Rout trait because that's quite a good one. So let us go and give ourselves some orders first. That'll definitely be needed for this. So we're going to go into the console. We're going to go add yield capitals, can't type, yield underscore orders, and give ourselves 100. There we go. The reason they disappeared is because I ended the turn and you can't be over a certain amount. Any extra orders that you have just get converted into gold. I could go ahead and probably should tidy up a little bit by just getting rid of that unit there. We can get rid of the settler if we want. It doesn't really matter. So for this demonstration, let's go ahead and get a reasonably weak unit. We'll get a rebel militia. We'll pop them on this tile. Didn't have them selected. We'll pop them on this tile. And then I'll get one of my units. Let's just get a strong one. Let's get something like a swordsman. And we'll go ahead and put the swordsman here for Rome. One thing that's also worth mentioning, I'm not going to demonstrate it because I think it speaks for itself, and that is ranged units. Ranged units obviously have an attack range. They don't need to be adjacent to the enemy to attack, but they can be. So a range of 1 means they have to be in the next tile. A range of 2 means they can be 2 tiles away, and a range of 3 means they can be 3 tiles away, and so on. If you attack an enemy unit with a ranged unit, even if you're standing next to them, it's still classed as a ranged attack. And when you attack a unit at range, they won't counterattack. Only melee attacks can initiate a counterattack. So what I'm demonstrating here is how one of your units reacts when it destroys an enemy unit. So for example, we've got this swordsman here. If I use this swordsman to kill this militia, we'll kill the unit, and the swordsman stays on the spot that they were on. We don't change tiles. Again, this is something that's going to be different if you've played Civilization, because normally in Civilization, if you kill a unit with a melee attack, the unit will automatically move forwards and take their place. This unit doesn't. So there is a unit trait called Rout. Now, this is normally found on cavalry units. So let's go ahead and just pop open the editor again. We'll get rid of our unit here. And let's find a cavalry unit that has Rout on it. It can be a reasonably basic thing like Cataphract. Cataphract has Rout on it, so we can get one of those and place it there. And that should have enough damage for us to take this unit out. So if we mouse over this, they also have Circle. So Circle attacks Circle at plus 10%. It's basically, it can damage all 6 tiles surrounding the attacking unit. So if there were multiple units surround us, we'd hit them all at the same time. It's like Cleave, but it hits all around you rather than just the ones either side of the target. But the trait we're particularly interested in is this one, Rout. Can Rout attack again after defeating a unit in combat? Now, a thing to remember with this one is if we hold shift and mouse over it, it says, after killing an adjacent enemy, units with Rout will advance into the now empty tile if there is another unit to attack from that tile. So if we attack this unit now and kill it, we won't advance into the tile because there isn't another enemy to attack. Just going to undo that move, pop the console back open, select rebels, get some militia because, you know, they're nice and easy to kill. And let's just go ahead and do a little line of militia units like that. Close console. If I now attack this unit, I will kill it, and because there's a unit that can be attacked from this tile, I move into that tile. And we've got this little green thing that says cooldown route 1 year. I can now attack this unit here and kill it. And I will move into that tile. And I can do it again. And I can do it again. And I can do it again. Now, I do take a little bit of damage every time that happens. And cheating apparently doesn't turn off the achievements, because I just got one for doing 5 routes in a row. So that's a good thing to know. But that's what routing does. Routing is very, very useful, which makes cavalry so much stronger in Old World than they are in Civilization. Now, one thing that I will say about combat in Old World that I think is very, very important is, remember, units can move much further. If you're up against an AI who has either a small army or a lot of orders, an entire army can come out of the fog of war before you see them coming. It's not like Civilization where units shuffle along a couple of tiles per turn and you can usually spot them nice and early on. So you really want to make sure that you've got some scouts hiding off in the trees towards your opponent, so you can try and spot if they've got any enemies coming your way. That's one of the best bits of advice that I can give for scouts, really. You just need to be able to see what the enemy is doing. I did think that there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and yes, there is. And that is zone of control. So let's go ahead and talk about zone of control. Is there a nice big open area where we can do that somewhere? We can probably use... I'm just trying to see if there's a reasonably big open flat plain. There's not a huge amount. There's a bit of space down here, actually. This will work quite well. So let's just open this. Zone of control is probably something that you're all familiar with. So let's go ahead and get a friendly unit like a warrior. And we will put that unit right here. And not all enemy units should have zone of control, so we'll go ahead and put in a rebel warrior here. If I click on them, thank you very much. Okay, there's a rebel warrior. So we'll turn this off, basically. So with an enemy unit selected, you'll see it has this red outline around it. This is that enemy unit's zone of control. I can move this warrior all around the place. You can see with him selected, there's a massive amount of space that I can move into. If I move the warrior into the enemy's zone of control, and then I want to move into another tile next to them, I can't do it directly. You cannot pass between 2 tiles in the enemy's zone of control. In some situations, it doesn't really make any difference, because moving to here and moving back to here costs 1 movement, the same as would happen here. But if this tile was blocked by an enemy, I wouldn't be able to go that way around. Even if it was blocked by, I believe, one of my own units, we can go ahead and test that theory. If we just pop in another warrior, let's say, again, always unclicking the warriors, let's put them there and there. So if I want to move over here, yeah, I can move through that because it's a friendly unit. If I go ahead and remove those and instead put them in as rebel units, and then I want to move from here to here, I can't get there because I'm blocked by their zone of control. If I wanted to move there, I'd literally have to go all the way around. So this is something that you will have seen in most games like this. A lot of units have zone of control. There are some units that do have a trait that allow them to ignore zone of control, and then you can go right through them. But that's pretty much the basics of combat, and a little bit about how to use the console commands and the editor. So again, if you want to get into the console, the editor, it's Shift and Tide, and there's a lot of stuff here that you can mess around with. Some of the stuff that you can do in the console is a little bit more difficult because it requires you to be able to know character IDs and tile IDs and stuff like that. That's a little bit more tricky to navigate, and it's not something I really mess around with. There are guides for it online if you search on Reddit and on the Steam forums and things like that. But a lot of the time it involves messing around in the in the JSON files or the XML files to find what the details of these various things are, like character IDs and things like that. They're not easy to find unless you can turn on the debug mode, which you need like a test version of the game for. So that's beyond the scope of these tutorials. But that is the basics of combat. Like I said, it really is the basics. The whole point of this video series is to just try and give you enough information to get going. It's so deep, the strategy of combat in this game. It really needs you to experiment with it. But you've seen me use the console, you've seen me use the editor. Go ahead, fire up the game, spawn a load of units, stick them on the map, and bash the heck out of them with each other and see what works for you. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you're still enjoying this tutorial series. I will see you on the next video, and until then, goodbye for now.